This is Optimal Startup Daily, episode 62, on designing the life you want to live, by Jeff Goins of GoinsWriter.com. And I'm Dan. I am your host here on Optimal Startup Daily, reading to you every single day to help you optimize your business life. And as usual, I'm going to tell you more about today's new author right after the reading. But for now, let's get right to it as we optimize your life. On Designing the Life You Want to Live, by Jeff Goins of GoinsWriter.com. What's happened to you is rare, my friend Mark told me over the phone one December afternoon. It was late in the day, but the weather was still warm, which isn't uncommon for Nashville that time of year. I was on one of my walks, talking to an elder who had mentored me through some of life's toughest moments. This was an important decision. I was about to decide whether or not I would become a full-time writer. Before you step off a cliff. At first, Mark thought he needed to talk me off a ledge. You know, he said, there are times in life when you need to pursue money and times when you don't. I remember working 4 jobs at one point just to make ends meet. I guess, I said, I'm worried about greed. The past year had been a blur. I'd self-published an ebook, traditionally published a trade paperback book, sold tens of thousands of copies, launched an online course teaching other writers, and tripled my income. Oh yeah, and my wife and I had our first kid. It had been a crazy year, and I wasn't quite sure what to make of it. All my friends were telling me to quit my marketing job at a nonprofit, but I wasn't sure. That's why I was talking to Mark. I don't know, Jeff, my 50-something friend told me. You need to be careful with money. It can grab a hold of you and not let go. I wouldn't do it for the money. We were talking about quitting my job. We were talking about chasing my dream. We were talking about change, and it was terrifying. Well, it's not about that, I said out loud for the first time. I mean, I like my job, but I don't know. The passion is there, the money is there, the family support is there. I breathed deep into the phone as I began to walk up a hill, rounding the first revolution of my block. Hang on, Mark said. You know, I thought we were talking about one thing, but now I realized it's something else. Look, what's happened to you is rare. Nobody saw it coming. I know you, and I didn't see it coming. You need to consider the possibility that not doing this might be an act of disobedience to God. This might be your calling. I hadn't considered that. The whole time I had been focused on what I might lose if I chased my dream, if I pursued my passion for writing and quit my job. Would my boss be disappointed in me? Would I fail? Was all the success so far just dumb luck that would eventually wear out? I never considered what might not happen, what I might lose, if I didn't at least try. Making the leap. 3 weeks later, I met my boss, Seth, in Atlanta and told him it was time for me to move on. My only hesitation, I told him, was the fear that I might disappoint him. I'm not disappointed, he said. I'm proud. I've been waiting for this conversation. I think it's time. 3 months later, I left my position and began a whole new career that I never could have imagined only a few years before. Since then, I've taught thousands of students in an online course, published 4 books, one of which was a bestseller, and spoken to tens of thousands of people. My award-winning blog is read by millions of people every year. Not only is this surreal, it's a surprise. But I've come to find, after talking to hundreds of others who have found their calling, discovering your purpose in life often is. Listen to your life. Author and activist Parker Palmer wrote in his fantastic book on vocation, Let Your Life Speak, quote, "Before I can tell my life what I want to do with it, I must listen to my life telling me who I am." End quote. When we consider whether we ought to stay at this job or stick with this career track just a little longer, I think we would do well to ignore the traditional advice of following your passion. Passion, if you're not careful, can get you into serious trouble. Not only that, it can lead to all kinds of temporary thrills that have no long-term satisfaction or success. A wiser strategy is to heed the counsel of Parker Palmer, to listen to your life. Look past your current situation and whether you like it or not. Dig deep into who you really are, and then ask yourself, is what I'm doing for a living a reflection of my identity or a distraction from it? More dangerous than failure. So many of us hide from our true selves and settle for what Trappist monk Thomas Merton calls the false self. This, he says, is a shadow of the real thing. Like a shadow, it may appear authentic, even resemble the same shape of our true self. But in the end, it's just a mirage, and we are in real danger of living through the false self. Because after a while, Merton says, we begin to believe it's the real thing. The most dangerous thing you can do in this life is succeed at the wrong thing, to win accolades and affirmations of something you know you are not. Because when that happens, you're stuck. What can you do but disappoint everyone and risk failure to become your true self? And yet, if we find ourselves in this situation, that is exactly what we must do. You just listened to the post titled, On Designing the Life You Want to Live, by Jeff Goins of GoinsWriter.com. And thank you to Gusto. Instead of reading a script about Gusto's payroll and benefits, we wanted to tell you what small business owners say, the people who use Gusto every day, like us. Here's what one business says. With Gusto, I think of payroll as a 30-second job. The website is so friendly and a joy to use. Friendly payroll? You don't hear that every day. Amy from Utah says, I love Gusto so much. They do our medical, dental, vision, and life insurance. It's so painless, it's like going to the spa. And we have great options and rates, even though we're a super small team. Health insurance, like going to the spa? That's a new one. And here's what Amneat says about Gusto's support team. Whenever something comes up, I reach out and literally 24 hours later, they tell us what to do or assure us that they've already handled it for us. Smart technology and friendly humans? Well, that's our experience too here at OSD. And right now, our listeners get 3 months free when they go to gusto.com/OSD. Yep, 3 months of payroll, benefits, admin, and more totally free. Again, that's gusto.com/OSD. gusto.com/OSD. And thank you to Jeff for giving us permission to narrate from his blog, and please come visit his site, which I have linked in this episode's description, and at oldpodcast.com as well. He is a super popular writer, the best-selling author of 5 books, including The Art of Work and Real Artists Don't Starve. On his site, you can hear his thoughts on writing, life, and creative work, so you'll hear him narrated across a few of our shows. And if you're looking to share your work but afraid of becoming the starving artist, his site is for you. Lots of great advice there. So come check it out at goinswriter.com. That's GOINS writer.com. And thanks again to Jeff for letting us share his work with you. And that's it for another edition of Optimal Startup Daily. I will be back again tomorrow as usual, so I'll see you there in the Wednesday show where your optimal life awaits.